Hey, welcome back to Tripod's Garage, and if you could, there it is. If you could hit that little subscribe button right there and make a great deal to me and my channel. I mean, where else are you going to see one like a guy do all the stuff that I do, right? So, you know, I mean, it's just awesome stuff. It really is. I mean, he does everything, and this 3D printer stuff is just a part of it, of what I do. Well, attempting to do, because it hasn't been used in the last couple of months because I'm still waiting on my custom enclosure because the temperatures in the Midwest are not really ideal for printing in the garage. So as I'm waiting for my custom enclosure parts, Creality is like said, hey, why don't you give our product a try? Kind of reminds me of something. What would that be? I think we use it for when we go four-wheeling. What would that be? Aha, yes. That's what it looks like to me. So yeah, let's see if it's weatherproof. But you'll see that I have some other things behind me that's above it. I have some ABS filament, and if you stick around to the end, I'll show you how that you could actually win that on my channel. So make sure you stick out to the end for this. I also decided to purchase a multi-zone thermometer. Yes, this is very high-tech equipment. Not only is this one a thermometer itself, it measures the nice balming 55 degrees that is in my nice establishment of my garage, but it also tells me that outside in zone number 2, that is a nice balmy 34 degrees outside. Perfect shorts and t-shirt weather for the suburbs of Chicago. In the house, it's a nice blistering 70 degrees. And I have my other zone here, which is going to be for inside the enclosure. That's going to tell me if my experiments are working. And then you're like, John, you got something else behind you. Or should we just call you Tripod? Doesn't really matter. It's Tripod's Garage. I'm John, Tripod, same thing. So behind me, what you're going to have to, I know it's going to be a struggle, but you're going to have to watch the whole video to see if this works. I have my lunch bin that I use sometimes for work. And in here is something pretty special. And I really think that this could help with the performance of the enclosure. So without further ado, Bear is very anxious to help me unpack this box. He's been sitting here. So let's just get going. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start unpacking this, build it, get the printer inside of it, and start testing. Right? All right, let's hop to it. Get it? Hop to it. You get what I'm talking about. It's a tripod thing. Bear is always fascinated with what's in the box, and always have to be careful around him because I don't want that razor blade to accidentally nick his nose or something. So I'm always kind of like pushing him away a little bit. So he just loves seeing what I'm doing. Let's open this box and see what's inside. If you ever put together a tent, this is pretty much identical. Here's your tent material, your fabric, and here are all your posts. These are your ends where the posts will all join into making your frame. Pretty simple, straightforward. This is actually pretty heavy. This is it's definitely like a thermal type blanket with that, you know, that foil insulation on the inside. Instructions couldn't be any simpler. You're just going to attach the poles to each other and slide the fabric over the top. All right, let's get this on the workbench, start assembling it, and hopefully get this printer inside of it. Going camping, are we? It's pretty darn simple. You are just putting posts number 1 to number 1, number 2 to number 2, following along with the instructions. I mean, it's just a couple pictures. And once I get the bottom put together, I'm going to just mirror and do the top, same exact way. Just assembling the outside poles now, and it's a good thing I built that custom extruded aluminum table, because look at this, it is overhanging by a lot. Moving the camera back. Alright, admitted defeat. Onto the floor it goes. This workbench is pretty big, but this enclosure is much bigger. Plus, by doing this on the floor, I can square it up, push in these corners, make sure everything's a little bit more true. This frame is very flimsy, very flimsy. It looks like, it just feels like it's going to fall apart. But once you start getting the fabric around it, it definitely tightens up a bit. It feels a little bit more solid. So the tolerances are pretty tight. As you see, it takes a little bit of effort to get around the corners, but not much. Bear's definitely interested, of course, and I try to get him in there. He's like, nope, what's this shiny stuff? I'm not going in there. You go in there. All right, it's in there. Don't ask me how, but it's in there. Yeah, this thing is absolutely massive. I know that this has a nice big bed, right? But let's see what it can do on its own here. I would like to see this get possibly around 100 degrees in just the enclosure. So I have my my readout here. This is zone number 3. It's at 55.9 currently. Very balmy here in northwest suburbs of Chicago. I'm going to place this towards the bottom in here, and we're going to set this on a time lapse for about an hour. But I'm going to check on it every like 15 minutes or so. If it hits 100 before then, I'll stop the time lapse and we'll start the next test. Well, we ran the time lapse. Within 1 hour, the base of this enclosure got to 75 degrees. Within 2 hours, it got up to 80 degrees. This is Fahrenheit, not Celsius. So, well, I really want to see if we can get this better. A better experience here with heating it up. And plus, I would like to know the temperature on the top as well as heat rises. So I would love to know what it is up here as well as down here. So I replaced the number 3 sensor. I put that outside, and number 1 is now on top. Number 2 is at the bottom, at the very base. Let's take a look to see where they're at. All right, so now we're on test number 2. Here's where the mounts are. I actually added another sensor here. This is actually number 1, and this is number 2 down here. So I want to get a readout of what the temperature is above, and of course heat rises, so, and what the, basically at the bottom, right? So that's where I want to concentrate my efforts. Let's give you a little bit of a tour of this. So you can see almost all of it has this aluminum foil type stuff. There's a hatch on the top. There's an access panel on the side. And then there's a power one behind there. And I'm gonna hopefully be able to get a print going. And the big one is the ambient temperature in the room. Now, let's talk about my little lunch bin that I mentioned at the beginning. This is hopefully my secret weapon to getting this hooked up and with a consistent temperature on the inside. This is what's called a mini mag. It actually has a plug in it. Say that you want to bring something home to work from home, and whether it be a microwave meal or leftovers or a meal prep that you did. Well, in here I have a snap lid container that I usually use. So let's take that out and show you what I'm looking at. In here is a heat plate. This is UL certified, and this could run basically like forever. You can't control the temperature, but think about it this way. It's a food warmer. It's like a crock pot, right? It's a crock pot bag. So I'm going to put this over here on this side of the printer. While having that there, I'm hoping that we're going to see a circulation of heat. I don't want to use a fan on here because I don't want any disturbance. As say that you have a full volume print and it comes down here and have a blower back here. I don't want that blower, no matter how low of a CPM it is, to cause any type of turbulence in here. So I figured by just having a radiant heat that we might be able to have some consistent temperatures in here. So let me go ahead and plug it in and show you what it looks like and how it's going to be in the enclosure. Since my cord wasn't long enough to use that port, I decided to just go ahead and use it right here, this side access panel. It's Velcro. It shouldn't be any heat loss there. Then also I have my USB cable going to my camera. And there's the zone number 2 for the bottom to measure the heat. I'm going to go ahead and preheat this bed and let it warm up. I'm going to do it to 75 Celsius. And we're going to go ahead and close this and see what results we get. I'm going to set the time lapse for about 2 hours, just like I did before. I'm hoping to see that we'll get to 100 degrees. Again, the zones here, the big number on the top is in the garage. The left, zone number 1, is the top of the enclosure. Zone number 2, the middle one, is the bottom of the enclosure. And we're starting to see some pretty good gains here. It looks like the heat plate is helping a little bit, but only time will tell, right? And yep, got 100, and we got a high of 86. Now let's start to print. I'm going to start with my PLA first and see how that works out. Well, let that be a lesson to you guys and gals out there. You move the printer, level it. I didn't do that, and all my prints were failing, and I didn't do my Z offset or anything. And it looked like a bomb went off. So I would suggest that if you ever move your printer, please level it off. This first PLA print is going to be a Game Boy stand for the original Game Boy. That gave me a lot of headaches before. And I will include this in the Thingiverse file in the description of the YouTube video. The lighting in here is really poor. You only have that one window. I'm using a big 500 watt light on the outside of it shining in. Unfortunately, with all the tools and everything I have, I don't have an LED like workshop lamp or something or strips. That would be ideal to light up this. Well, it looks like the Game Boy stand survived. Yeah, there's some stringing issues and some weird artifacts on here, but we'll look at this towards the end of the video. Next, we're going to move on to a 3D Benchy with ABS. I increased the bed temperature to 110 and the filament to 225. Left, and yeah, I didn't monitor this one, but the camera sure did. Spaghetti everywhere. Yeah, not fun, but good thing I caught it in time where it wasn't too bad. But this wasn't the end to all my problems. You'll see that next I have a mayhem here. The bed kept, everything just kept on colliding. It would not home. Rule of thumb is, guys, don't waste the time like I did. Check your connections. It just wound up being one of the limit switches was unplugged. Yeah, it was taut or something got caught on something. Now we're printing again with ABS. Let's see how this Benchy turns out. First, I want to say thank you to Creality for sending this enclosure out. They did watch a couple of my videos, and I guess they realized there are some people that are using these printers that are in not the most ideal climate, right? Mine's in the garage, tough environment, and it's been actually, I haven't been using it for over 2 months now because it's just too cold. And the parts that I've been waiting on for my custom enclosure have been delayed. I've had to reorder a lot of the parts. So they sent this out to me. I am reviewing it, and I have to say, even though it's huge and humongous, it does work. I think the biggest issue is because it's too big, it just takes too long for this to heat up. Even if I set the bed temperature to 110, the max for the ENDER 5 Plus, it took a good 35 to 40 plus minutes for it to heat up. Now, given this could be different for other people, right? You're looking, if it's inside the house and you're looking to print ABS, you won't have this type of problem. This is for people like myself that are you need the enclosure because of the conditions and the atmosphere you're printing in. I use that little heating plate from my lunch bin thing. It did help with the by 5 degrees, and that's a lot. Honestly, it's a lot, but that's for the bottom. And most likely by the time that plate, the heating bed plate moves down to the bottom, we're good anyways. It was just to see if I could help boost the atmosphere in there. Well, how about the results? I printed out several parts, several things, a benchy, and one of my, if you've seen the ENDER 5 Plus, is it a failure or not video, you will recognize the part that I'm going to show you. But let's show the issue number one that I had. This, you won't even most likely recognize it at first. This is a warped piece, extremely warped, okay? I caught it in time. I kept on checking in on the printer about every 20 minutes, and the first layers went down beautifully, and then all of a sudden it started looking like this. I paused for a second and I said, okay, what could be the issue? It's all enclosed and there shouldn't be an issue, right? However, I looked at the bed temperature. The bed temperature was the issue. All the parts that I've been printing, I've been battling the elements. I've set the bed up to 75 degrees. I lowered the bed temperature down to 55 now, since I'm not dealing with any atmospheric issues, and now the part came out like this. This is a higher speed than I like to print, and I definitely having some issues. My nozzle crashed into the bed, so I think that's what this is. I need to replace the nozzle. But otherwise, there is a very faint corner where it looks like there's a slight warp for this PLA. Now this is the polygon PLA, now let's go to what the benchy that I printed before. This was the benchy before that I used in a previous video, where I used the space heater against it. The space heater did a pretty good job. I was able to get good adhesion. This was printed at a 60 or 70 speed. The Game Boy standard was at 100. So I really like printing a little bit slower. I know there's a lot of people that print faster, but I like to make sure that I just get a little bit more detail on my prints. This white one was before, back in October, when I got my printer. This was actually done with the Creality PLA, and it came out really, really good. So that was done. This isn't just the Overture PLA, but now I think this is what everyone's kind of tuned in for, the ABS, and not the most ideal conditions, and this is mostly what this enclosure is good for, right? Well, I have a little bit of difficulties. People will recognize this stuff. You got your spaghetti and some warped pasta, right? Yeah, this did not come out very well. I had it set to 100 for the speed, and I think this was just literally my fault, because I did not let the enclosure get up to temperature. I immediately switched from the PLA to the ABS. I did not, as soon as that plate got up to temperature, I started printing. I did not let the enclosure heat up again. And I think this was between the results of printing at higher speed and not letting the enclosure get up to temperature caused the issue. The temperature within the enclosure was about 85-ish, and that was from on the high end. The top of the enclosure, the base, was at about 80. So let's go back to the drawing board. Be a little patient. So I let the bed get up to temperature again, and I let the enclosure sit for about 35 to 40 minutes. The enclosure got up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the base, with the assistance of that little heating plate, got up to 95. Awesome, right? Now I'm going to print this benchy again. But also I'm going to reduce the speed down to 70. Started to print. I washed it until it got down, got up to about maybe the 10th layer or so. And I said, okay, it's late. I'm gonna go to bed. We all love going to bed when your printer is going, right? But I would have to say, looking at this benchy now, it came out pretty darn good. I mean, for ABS, only my second attempt, it really amazes me. Especially the flat surfaces. The deck of this is near perfect. Yeah, of course there's some overhang issues, but I attribute that to my nozzle crashing into the bed when I had a failure. This video has taken me 4 days to produce with all the challenges and testing for heating it up. If you take a look at the PLA against the ABS, on my left hand is the ABS, and my right hand here is the PLA. Yeah, I think it came out pretty darn good. Well, I guess the big question is, would I recommend this enclosure? Well, I did get it, from Creality, but I like giving an honest review, right? It's just too big for me. It may not be too big for you guys, and the environments are different. Not everyone's printing in their garage in the upper Midwest in the cold, right? And don't need to bring it up to the temperature I need to bring it to. However, when I open that, a lot of heat escapes. That is a big flap, and you really need to be prepared ahead of time with your prints, at least in the conditions that I'm in. And it's tough to say. I'm just keep on looking at it, and it's taking up my whole workbench that I built. I did not build that workbench for that enclosure. It is massive, and it takes a long time to heat it up. Even with the assistance of that little heating plate that I have from my lunch bin. It took a long time, up to 40 minutes for it to heat up. And that was through bringing it to bed to the highest temperature. So, yes and no. It does suit its purpose, it does work. But it's a tent, a thermal tent. And it's big, and to me, it's a good stopgap for what I'm going to be building in the future. So yes, I think for the right people, it is a good product, and it suits its purpose, and it does work for its purpose. But for me, it's good for right now. So like, just keep on looking at it. It's just massive. It's just huge. So anyways, let's get to what you might have been going into this for. The giveaway is some filament. I realize that there's a lot of viewers of my 3D printing stuff, and this isn't a 3D printing channel. I like recording stuff to motivate other handicapped people to get up and, say their life isn't over. If the one-legged guy could do it, you can do it too. That's what this channel is. But I realize there's a big 3D printing community out there that I didn't really know existed. I subscribed to a few channels, but I didn't realize that people were watching my content and saying, hey, you know what? This guy has something going here. I will continue with the 3D printer. I have a lot of plans for upgrades, but there's also other content on this channel as well. So I don't want to forget about you guys. So I am going to be doing a giveaway of one of these 3 filaments, either Polygon. Polygon was nice enough to send me out a free roll when I didn't even ask for it. They wanted me to test it, and that was it. You know, the Overture I bought, it was a great sale on Amazon. A lot of people have been using it. It works pretty good. And I heard great things about hatchbacks with, you know, their ABS. So I purchased that. So 2 of the 3 I purchased, but I'm no way affiliated or endorsed by any of them. If you pick out one of these 3, I just know that I've used it. And it's already in my Amazon cart, and I could just go ahead and ship it out to you. Now the rules are, you just have to subscribe and say, Bear is awesome. If you haven't watched my channel before, Bear is my dog. He's my buddy. He's my best friend. He follows me around everywhere. Come on. Come on, buddy. Up. Say hi. Come on. Come on. Say hi. Come on. Up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There he is. Oh, he's a heavy dog. So you say, Bear is awesome. Give him some street cred. Subscribe. And this will be running through the end of February. And I'll ship you a roll of some free filament of your choice to these 3 manufacturers, and that's it. And, you know, just tell me if you want to, you know, if it's not ABS, if it's PTG or whatever it is, you know, PLA, just let me know the color and the type, and off it goes. So the rules will be down below in the description, and same with any of the products I've used during this. Also, I'll include, you know, the files on Thingiverse for the stuff that you've seen here. But yeah, it's been great. Hopefully you learned something. I know I have with this thing. And thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll catch you the next time on Tripod's Garage. Thank you, and have a great day.